Well, look who's back. It's me, Jim Mundy, the historian for the Union League Legacy Foundation, with another episode of, you guessed it, Mondays with Mundy. Today is Monday, March the 8th, when you're first seeing this. And for no historical or other reason, I just thought I would try something different today. One of the advantage of doing these episodes is the research I get to do on the league and the league members. And I came across two members. And you're about to hear about them. So why don't we get started? So let me produce the ubiquitous PowerPoint. Okay, and I've got to go up top here and do that, and then I do that, and you get to see this. Hot dogs. I think I got it right this time. Okay, all right, this is called the Amazing ElectroBat. So think about it. It's the 1890s. Electric battery? Maybe. Here's the story. All right, everybody knows this guy, right? And don't tell me you don't. I mean, he's one of the most famous men in the world right now, right? Elon Musk. Okay, what is he famous for? Most famous for, perhaps? Ta-da, the Tesla car. And what makes a Tesla car different? It's electric, right? Okay, came out in 2008. And I think it is fair to say that it is the most, no, it's also a hybrid. But I think it's also fair, no, it's electric. I take that back. The Prius is the hybrid, which came out in 1997. So here we had an electric car. But believe it or not, it wasn't the first one in America. The first one in America was actually built in 1894 by these two gentlemen, who happened to be Union League members. So how do you like that, folks? Two Union League members created the first successful electric automobile in America. 1894, left-hand side, Pedro G. Salom, and on the right-hand side, Henry G. Morris. Okay, all right. This is what makes this stuff so much fun, isn't it? I mean, this is just an amazing thing. And here we go. What did their car look like? Ta-da, that's it. Now, this is the second version, and I'll show you the first version here just for the fun of it. But this gives you a really good idea. So compare that to this. Pretty neat, isn't it, huh? All right, it's got a great story, too. All right, and here we are. This is the first version. It was called the ElectroBat for electric battery. And it turns out that you can see Henry Morris on the right-hand side and Pedro Salom on the left-hand side. All right, now let's see. Hard to find a lot of information about Morris. I couldn't even get his obituary, and for me to admit that, it's tough. Fortunately, I found a little bit more about Pedro Salom. So he was born in Philadelphia, but of Spanish parents. He graduated from Central High School, and in 1875, he was born in 1856, graduated from Central High School, and then went to the University of Pennsylvania, where he graduated in 1875 with a degree in chemical engineering. So he would become known as an electrochemical engineer. Morris, on the other hand, was born in 1839 in Philadelphia as well, and he was a mechanical engineer, so he would be known as an electromechanical engineer, right? Makes sense. Now, the two of them were working on the evolution of electric batteries for Philadelphia trolley cars in the 1880s and the early 1890s. And to put that in context, the League installed its first electric light in 1888, paid its first electric bill in 1889. So electricity is the up-and-coming thing. And Philadelphia streetcars, which were at this point horse-drawn and horse-pulled, are going to become electrified in 1892. But these two gentlemen were trying to find ways to create batteries that could also propel these streetcars without having to put up the poles, the catenary, and all that kind of stuff. So Salom became convinced, though, that with this new technology, that he could create what we think of today as an automobile, that people could move around in these battery-driven cars. And this is what they produced, all right? And it was called the ElectroBat. So this is 1894. It is, you can see large front wheels, smaller rear wheels. It's rear wheel steering. They have that throttle that you can see Morris has his hand on. The battery itself weighed 1,600 pounds, which meant they had to have steel-rimmed wheels just to support the weight of it alone. So, and it didn't move very fast either, as you can imagine. So but with a little bit, no, and actually, so August 31st of 1894, they get their patent, and that day in Center City, Philadelphia, Broad Street, they exhibit the ElectroBat. They had to get a special permit from the city government, and then they had to have a police escort because they weren't sure just exactly what the reaction would be to all the horse-drawn carriages on Broad Street itself. But as the newspapers wrote, the experiment was a great success without mishap or accident. So they were up and running. And of course, now they begin to tinker some more. And that is when they produced this version. This is the ElectroBat II that was produced in 1895. So, and now again, the battery has been reduced in weight to 350 pounds. And they also now have pneumatic tires, although they're still using that throttle as opposed to a steering wheel to steer the ElectroBat itself. All right, so onward and upward. All right. Oh, and by the way, the original weight of the ElectroBat was 4,400 pounds. So it's a sturdy vehicle to say the least. All right. So 1895, there will be the country's first automobile race, because not only are electric vehicles under development, but also steam vehicles and combustion engine driven vehicles as well. So we're looking at three forms of power, right, of energy. So electricity, steam, and gasoline or petroleum of some sort. And so the Chicago Tribune was going to host the country's first automobile race on Thanksgiving Day in 1895, November the 29th. And it will be a 50-mile race from Jackson Park in Chicago out to Evanston, Illinois, and then back into Jackson Park. Now, clearly, the electric vehicles weren't going to go 50 miles. I mean, if they could go 20, it would be a miracle. And that's about as far as the ElectroBat went. Actually, they went about 15 miles, but they knew that before they started. So obviously, they didn't win the race. They didn't win the prize money, but they were given a gold medal from the race after these scientists had evaluated the performances of all these different vehicles. So this is what the Chicago Tribune wrote in the paper. So that day, they awarded the gold medal to the Morris and Salom ElectroBat of Philadelphia on the following points: safety, ease of control, absence of noise, vibration, heat, and odor, cleanliness, and general excellence of design and workmanship. Not bad, huh? Okay, so they have a winner, one way or another. All right, so now that's the end of 1895. In 1896, all right, Morris and Salom will form something called the Morris and Salom Electric Carriage and Wagon Company, because now they want to make more of these and they want to make them accessible to the public. All right, so they build a contract with Caffrey Carriage Company in Camden, and they start producing these vehicles. But it becomes pretty clear to them that it has its limitations, at least for the mass market, shall we say, even though they had refined it even further. So at this point, it's being steered by rear wheels. It has two 1.5 horsepower motors, and it's going to go about 25 miles an hour, or 25 miles on a 25 miles an hour on a charge, at about 20 miles an hour. Okay, so it could move compared to everything else. But again, they just weren't sure it was going to work, because the initial costs for producing this carriage were expensive. They were high. And electric battery, and this is, again, we're talking about acid lead batteries, and it's the sophistication of the technology just wasn't quite there yet. So they didn't think it had a great future in terms of mass production yet, and therefore mass purchasing. So instead, they got the idea that they would build. Oh, darn, I forgot I had this slide. This is the race in Chicago. You can see there's 12 inches of snow on the ground, by the way. It's Chicago, it's November, duh. Okay, and that, I believe, is the ElectroBat right there on the right-hand side. Okay. Gosh, what made them do it, who knows? Anyway, so Morris and Salom decide that they can produce vehicles as taxi cabs, and they'll do it in New York. And so this is the first motorized taxi cab in New York City, and it was placed in service in 1897. And they were modeled after the handsome horse-drawn cabs. They built 12, and they built a 13th, but it was more of a larger carriage based on the Brougham carriage. if you will. All right. And the venture capital for this was put up by the Electro Storage Battery Company in Philadelphia, run by a fellow named Isaac Rice. So that's the single one. And here you have these cabs lined up in New York City. Okay. All right. Now, oh, let me go back. Okay, let's stick with these. And actually, this is the better photograph. All right. So Mr. Rice is an entrepreneur, as were Salom and Morris. And so Mr. Rice sees the possibility of making a lot of money on electric vehicles. And so he starts buying up other patents and things like that and produces a conglomerate that he will then call the Electric Vehicle Company. And he does this in 1897 and it's based in Elizabethport, New Jersey. All right, but there's lots of competition, right? Especially with vehicles driven by other forms of energy. You still have steam is kind of dropping out at this point in time, but certainly gasoline-powered or petroleum-powered combustion engines are becoming more and more sophisticated. And it's the electric batteries, they're still having some developmental issues. So they're not as popular as they thought they would be. And so, so they're slowly but surely going to be in decline. And Rice eventually, though, would basically overreach his financial ability to produce these, and that would be the end of electric batteries, basically, or the electric vehicle company, and it would evolve into something else eventually. But so that was the end of that. But in the meantime, though, Salom in 1899 creates the electrical lead reduction company because you still need electric batteries for other things as well, and so he's still dabbling in creating things, and he will, as you can imagine, create a small fortune for himself. But electric cars are still here. I mean, they're still moving around. So this is the Electric Vehicle Company, 1905. You can see they have something called the Columbia. So they're still giving it a shot. All right, even in the first decade of the 20th century. All right. And GE is in the game as well. After all, Edison's not going to sit back. After all, he's the guy who, light bulbs and stuff like that, right? So they're also trying to make some cars, electric cars. And this is what I find interesting is that you can charge your vehicle at your home, right? Just what, Teslas do, right? Isn't that what Elon Musk does? You can charge your cars at home. You can charge them in the parking lot at the Whole Foods, markets, charge them anywhere. So it's interesting how, things don't, the more things change, the more they stay the same, all right? But regretfully, this car came along. Recognize it? All right, that is a Model T. First produced and on the road in 1908. And the Model T would put the end to whatever future electric propulsion vehicles had at that point in time. So the jig was up, the game was over, and Henry Ford won the game. And of course, gasoline-powered cars would continue to evolve over the course of the 20th and into the 21st century. But nonetheless, I still think it's a great story to think that two Union League members created the first successful electric automobile in America in 1894. All right, so here we have Henry G. Morris. Whoops, I don't know. Oh, his date didn't stick. Okay, he was born in 1836. You can see he died in 1915. And Salom, 1856 to 1945. So there you go. They both aged very well, don't you think? And just for fun, apparently Salom in his latter years, and they both died as league members, by the way. Salom would go into lunch. He lived in Overbrook, on Upland Place, something like that, just not too far from the Overbrook train station. And he would go to lunch at the League a couple times a week, and he would spend 2 hours after lunch playing pocket billiards. So that was his sport. So he enjoyed his league membership. So there we have it, folks. All right, the story of the amazing ElectroBat. I hope you enjoyed it. And again, who would have thought? So we'll see what we can dig up for the next episode, okay? So in the meantime, everybody, go out and get your vaccines. Stay well. It looks like warm weather's coming, so spring is coming. So all good. Thanks for watching. And let's thank the Legacy Foundation once again for sponsoring these episodes because they're a lot of fun. I hope you're enjoying them. So, all right. Stay well, stay safe, and it's getting warmer. So be good. Bye now.